have to open with prayer, of course. Now let's pray for this great nation. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for all of us gathering here today to celebrate our freedoms. Thank you for this great nation, and we pray that you will bless Donald Trump, you will bless this nation, you will heal it from any of these diseases that go across this land, that you will take care of everyone here, that you will put a hedge of protection over us and this great nation, that you will change the heart of Governor Evers to understand that what we do here is because we love this country, and that you will guide us through, and we know that you are the protector of this nation. May what we say here today echo throughout this country. In Jesus' precious name I pray, amen.
Amen.
Thank you all. If you don't know me, of course, I am on WSAU, the morning show host, and I am so glad to be here because what we are doing right now is not illegal. The Constitution gives us this right to assemble, and Governor Evers needs to understand he is the one violating the law, not us. Governor Evers, strangely, was someone who helped educate children, but I guess he needs a little bit of an education right now. So let me give that education to him. Here is Article 6 of the Constitution. The Constitution and the laws of the United States and the judges in every state. Last I looked, Wisconsin was a state, wasn't it? In every state shall be bound thereby. Anything in the Constitution or laws of any state to the contrary, notwithstanding, meaning those laws don't stand. So what Governor Evers has done in violating our rights does not stand. We need to send a message that if our constitutional rights can be taken away simply by an emergency act, I've got news for Governor Evers. It can't. The Constitution says so. If it violates the Constitution, you can't do it. Now, you can make up laws in your states. You can do whatever you want so long as you stay within the confines of the Constitution. And everyone knows, including Democrats, amazingly, they know this too. Everyone knows that Governor Evers is violating the Constitution. So therefore, what we are doing is just and right. And it is an obligation for us as American citizens to do what it takes to keep this country free.
No shit.
Governor Evers, how many men and women sacrificed their lives for our individual freedoms? They faced death so that we could be free. There is no let's sacrifice our individual liberties for the greater good of society like socialism. We are not a socialist country, and we will never be. Our freedoms are more important than the coronavirus, and I like to sum this up. I say this on the radio all the time. The Constitution is more important than any coronavirus. President Trump has not violated the Constitution. Everything he has done has been a recommendation. I haven't been happy with everything that has happened, but he hasn't violated the Constitution. These governors are, and they will continue to be. But I want to call them out for the liars that they are when they say they do this for the sanctity of life. You know where I'm going. Governor Evers, if you're doing this for the sanctity of life, then I demand that you show that you actually care about life by denouncing abortion in America right now. 12 million babies worldwide have already been killed in the past 4 months. 12 million. If you care about life, you'd care about that. But you don't care about that. And you won't back down, because what you're doing, and you're going to prove it by not denouncing abortion, you don't care about life. You're not doing this for life. You're doing it for the Democrat Party agenda. You're doing it to hurt Donald Trump. And we all see it. We all know it. And if you want to prove me wrong, denounce abortion today. If you do that, I will praise you to high heaven on my radio show. I will. I will say you are a man for taking a stand against your own party, and you actually do care about life. But I know you won't, because you don't. And you're faking like you care about the sanctity of life. But I care about life. I do. I also care about my freedoms. And there's no reason why we can't be a free society and take care of the sick and elderly. We have seen other countries do this. How do they explain South Korea? How do they explain Sweden? How come they are not devastated for not shutting down their economies? We can keep our economy open and protect the elderly and the weak, and that's all we're asking. Folks, I don't want to be too long, because, you know, if you listen to my show, I could just keep going and going and going, and there's a lot of other speakers. So I just want you guys to know that I appreciate every single one of you that had the courage to come out here today to stand up for the freedoms. If our forefathers could face a machine gun in World War II for their freedoms, certain death for some of them, but they stared down death. If the Revolutionary War, those people could put their lives on the line for freedom, we most definitely can put our face in front of the coronavirus and say, we will not give up our freedoms, not for a dictator, not for war, and not for some stinking virus. There's so much more I want to say, but others will take care of it. First, I want to apologize to all the other speakers, because
You be our leader.
I'm trying to
Are
be.
you ready to join Armstrong's army?
Thank you.
We will follow.
Thank you. For all the other speakers, I do have to apologize that I went first, because they have to follow me, and, you know, that's going to be very difficult. So I had to apologize for going first. But, folks, let me end with this. It's the most important thing anyone will hear today. Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to the Father except through him.
Amen. Amen.
I hope even Governor Evers understands that. Folks, I love you guys. See ya!
Thank you, Mr. Armstrong. Love it. Love it. Our next speaker, many of you know, and everyone's about to meet. Meg Ellison and her family relocated from the Twin Cities. You know the place. The thing. You know the thing, right? 14 years ago. She came to central Wisconsin, and we're glad she did. We're glad we have her. Meg decided to get involved with this event when it became apparent that Governor Evers shut down has turned Wisconsin into a place that she doesn't recognize by killing small businesses, killing the future of Wisconsin workers, and critically affecting the health and well-being of those across the state. She's got a powerful message to share with you. Please welcome Meg Ellison.
So before I begin, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. You know, I know that a couple people shouted this out in the crowd, but I want to take a few minutes to say thanks to Corey Tomczyk. Without all of his blood, sweat, and tears over this last week, this wouldn't have happened. I think he literally moved these trailers by himself with his arms. He created this fortress for us. And I'm really grateful, so we need to give him a great round of applause.
That's the real guy who did it right there.
Okay, the
This young guy.
second group of people that I want to thank, some of them are here in the crowd today, and then there are many others out there looking out for us, are law enforcement. They go to work every day and say goodbye to their loved ones, not knowing if they're going to return. And a lot of what they do is thankless. And we need to recognize the sacrifice that they make to make sure that we're safe. And we're so very grateful for law enforcement in Marathon County, in our area, because they are helping us out today by allowing us to express our freedom to protest our government. So thank you to law enforcement. So I'm going to ask you a few questions, and then I'm going to depress you a little bit, but the message needs to be heard. I'm curious because I'll just share a little secret with you. The reason that this began, I've already said, is because of Corey. But he called me on last Saturday and said, Meg, we got to do something. And so we whipped up this little party in a week, and I wanted to find out how you heard about it. So I know how we tried to get the word out, but by show of hands, if you would let me know, first of all, how many of you heard about it on Facebook? How many of you heard about it on the radio? How many of you heard about it from another friend? And another form of media besides radio? Uh-huh. And then any other methods? Shout out. Paper. Okay, paper. Okay, cool. So now I have a couple other questions. By show of hands, and this is really why we're here. It's not to promote a particular political party. It's not to promote anything other than we're all Wisconsinites, and we're here to look out for each other in central Wisconsin.
Go Bucky!
Okay, him too. By show of hands, how many, and I want you to keep your hands up so that we can see. By show of hands, how many of you have suffered a pay cut as a result of Governor Evers' shutdown? Okay, keep your hands up. How many are furloughed or laid off right now? Keep them up, even if you, we want to see. How many of you have lost a job as a result? How many of you know someone who's lost a job or furloughed? Okay, next question. By show of hands, how many of you have been denied an appointment for a checkup, a chronic health condition, a health problem, a dental problem, or checkup or diagnostic screening, health visit due to Governor Evers' shutdown? So look around. This is what Governor Evers is doing to people from central Wisconsin, people from all over the state. Okay, my last question. Is anyone here brave enough to admit that they regret voting for Governor Evers? Well, you know what? We love you and we embrace you and welcome. So there are a lot of speakers that have a lot to say, and so I'm going to just cut to the chase. And this past week in planning this event, I have had an opportunity to talk to a lot of people in Wisconsin, legislators and business owners and bar owners and restaurant owners and doctors and nurses here in central Wisconsin. And they've shared their different stories about what's going on with them. And I had a number of conversations with doctors here in central Wisconsin, and although this particular doctor who shared his story with me declined to speak, he wanted me to share his message with you. So if you'll allow me to, I'm going to read it to you. My husband always says I don't like to be read to, but I think this message is important. And what I ask you to do is to take this message and to share it with those who aren't here today. And I also ask you to share it with the media and hold them accountable for making sure that this message gets out there. So here it goes. I'm an actively practicing physician in a very busy and well-known medical practice in central Wisconsin. My thoughts herein do not represent any medical organization or medical practice. These thoughts are my own and are given in response to trying to look at the COVID-19 pandemic through the medical lens of central Wisconsin. Although these thoughts are my own, I can tell you that the thoughts to follow are shared by many of my colleagues and many of whom I'm sure you may know. First, I would like to assure those of you here today that from a medical standpoint, we have had time to prepare for COVID-19 in central Wisconsin. The pause was necessary for our system and others to confront and to get ready for a possible surge and what that might mean. It has forced planning and evaluation of manpower and resources that allows us in the medical community to now say that we are as ready as we can be. I can tell you that our manpower and resources are not perfect, but ready. I feel that the medical organization that I am affiliated with can actually make the claim that we are COVID ready and frankly COVID safe. But that does not mean COVID free. Of course, no individual or organization can make the claim to being COVID free, but from a medical perspective, that is not important. But COVID safe is possible, and I think we can now say that. I don't think our medical communities here are saying these words loud enough. And that is a message that needs to be better communicated to the public. Let me share some data with you. Data is important, and local data is even more important when it comes to making decisions. As of 2 p.m. on April 16th, which was this past Friday, in Marathon County, there have been a grand total of 16 confirmed test positive COVID-19 cases to date, total. And we are one of the main referral centers for a 14-county region in most of the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. 16 documented positive patients. Population in Marathon County is 135,000. Yes, there has been one death, very unfortunate under any circumstance. This happened to be in an 85-year-old with many other medical problems. Sad and very unfortunate, yet predictable. In the hospital system where I work, we are currently averaging less than 3 admissions a week. 3 admissions a week that ultimately have the coronavirus. And this is in a system with over 500 hospital beds. We have basically shut down our hospital system and all of its working parts for these few admissions. Time, fortunately, has been on our side. We are now starting to understand that the large majority of people that contract the coronavirus may well recover without ever knowing they were infected. Data released Friday by Stanford researchers looking at case rates in California suggests that case fatality rates there likely range between 0.12 to 0.2%, similar that of a bad seasonal flu, rather than initial models suggesting mortality upwards of 3 to 4%. The more data we get, the more it seems we've overestimated the impact of the coronavirus. The constant barrage of media reports certainly does not help to interpret the actual reality of what most of us are seeing on the ground, especially in places like central Wisconsin. As medical practices, many of the groups have basically come to a grinding halt. Patients are not being seen, and necessary procedures and operations are being delayed. That's all of you, by the way. Important staff are being laid off in this arena as well. That could also be you. As we all know, none of this without consequences, and also the potential for loss of life. Most concerning to me is that now many patients and families are actually avoiding medical facilities and emergency rooms. This is unfortunate and a mistake. Due to the precautions that are taking place on site within our organization with many safeguards and extra screening both of patients and staff, these are probably some of the safest places to be at the moment. Needless to say, a one-shoe-fits-all approach to this problem is inconsistent with what many of us within the medical community see and think. We are not New York City, and we are not even Milwaukee. The initial state-mandated shutdown may have made sense based on data that was available, but now, every day, more data emerges that suggests that in communities like ours, we might not even see a surge. More concerning is the fact that in communities like ours, if the shutdown continues, our communities, businesses, and hospitals will just simply not survive. New York City will get through this. Wausau, Wisconsin will not. At least not as we recognize it. As we all know, some of this is already happening around us. Physician leaders at my hospital have been urging the hospital systems here to get back to business and do what we do, and that is to take care of people. We must open our doors in a COVID-ready and COVID-safe way. If we don't, our medical care systems and many in rural communities will also be decimated. It is absolutely time to reopen our world, albeit with some safeguards and common sense, which is clearly lacking in statewide closures and mandates. We can all agree that times have changed and need to be for the foreseeable future, but this clearly does not mean to any business that we are closed. It is imperative that we begin to reopen with appropriate safeguards and do this now. So if you're out there, doctor, thank you for preparing this information for us. When I was promoting this event this week, I went on a couple of local radio stations, or WSAU and here in Wausau, and then out of Green Bay, and then also down in Madison, Milwaukee area with Vicki McKenna. And on Friday, I put out a request on our Facebook page as well as on Vicki's program for people to share their stories about issues with having lost their jobs or any kind of medical care that they were not receiving as a result of the government shutdown. And by Friday afternoon, my inbox was overflowing with stories. And I'm gonna do my best to keep it together. I've told people here today that if I start to cry, you gotta help me out, because these stories are heart-wrenching and they are unnecessary, and it's inhumane what our governor is doing to the people of Wisconsin. So here goes. So I promised each one of these people that shared their story that I'd just use their first name and the city that they reside. Anne from Ingleside, Illinois. Her mom is in Franklin, Wisconsin, shares. This is very personal, but my mom is in an assisted living facility. I have not been able to see her since March 12th. Her health is deteriorating, and my family has to take the word of the facility that she is being cared for. I am afraid that she will die before we can see her again, or she won't remember who we are by the time we get to see her. I know people have worse situations than mine, but I don't want her life to end this way. Sharon from Brodhead, Wisconsin. I am in self-quarantine due to the delay in my scheduled surgeries. Because of the extended shutdown Governor Evers has issued, I will be waiting for the removal of a large gallstone in my gallbladder, along with needing a biopsy of the growth in my uterus. I am scared to death waiting. These two problems were found when I had my emergency appendectomy on February 14th, 2 months ago. She's been waiting. I had the surgery scheduled, but they have been canceled until further notice. Dave from Poynette, Wisconsin. My eardrum ruptured on March 7th as a result of an ear infection. I am still partially deaf as a result, but I'm unable to see an ENT doctor for further treatment, as any treatment for this condition is considered elective. Misa in Appleton, Wisconsin. I have severe atopic dermatitis that has never responded well to creams and steroids. My skin blisters, cracks, and burns. Because of Governor Evers' order, I have not been able to get my phototherapy treatment. My doctor had me increase the usage of the prescription creams, but it is not controlling the symptoms very well. My skin feels like it is burning or itching most of the time. I was down to 1 treatment a week. Once I am able to get the phototherapy again, I will need to have it 3 times a week, which puts me at a higher risk for skin cancer. Gail from Oshkosh, Wisconsin. I have had problems for many months with severe foot pain. I had an appointment with a specialist which got canceled. Well, this is not life-threatening. It affects my day-to-day activities. Some days I can walk for 30 minutes outside, and other days I spend most of the day on the couch. Pain pills do not work. I will need surgery to correct the problem and cannot have it until the governor's shutdown ends. I have a few more, and I want to share them because I believe that it's worth having their stories heard. And I believe that if any of you can spread these stories, we're going to put these up on our Facebook page and also on our website. I'm going to share them with Vicki too, so she can talk about them on her station. But somehow we got to get this message to Governor Evers. Julie from Madison writes, I have been unable to receive weekly allergy shots due to the shutdown, which with spring literally blooming everywhere affects my health and well-being. And additionally, she said, my best friend is in jeopardy of losing her salon, which she has spent 20 years building. Richard in Edgerton, Wisconsin writes, my nephew died alone at UW because they stopped all visitors. I have 2 injections and other health saving. I have a tooth that needs work to help hold dentures in place, but cannot get the care due to the governor's shutdown. In 2 weeks, my self-employment business will go out of business. Brent in Rothschild, Wisconsin. My mother needs to have work done on a heart valve that is being postponed because of the shutdown. It is unknown at this time when she will be able to have this done. Her condition causes water retention, AFib, high blood pressure in her lungs, and causes her to be out of breath just from walking from one room to the next in her home. Shelley in Mosinee writes, I need surgery on my elbow but can't get it right now, so I was given a brace to try. I wake up every 1 to 3 hours all night long with it hurting. I have shooting pain in my arm from my elbow to my hand. I can't have surgery done because it's an elective surgery. I need to sleep well to stay as healthy as possible to keep away the virus, but I can't sleep because of my elbow and arm pain. It is frustrating to not be able to go to the doctor or get something taken care of. My husband works for the clinic we go to, but he has been furloughed because they can't do elective surgeries. Lisa in Weston writes, my friend is dying in hospice alone because I can't go and hug her or hold her hand. I don't have COVID. She doesn't have COVID. It is unreasonable to make her suffer this way. I watch her cry through the window. Governor Evers, let us comfort our sick and help those in trouble.
Yes.
I could go on and on.